Good afternoon. This is Melissa with the StockSwoosh.com and welcome everyone. Today is Tuesday, May 14th, and I thought I would do an Apple update. What a lovely chart this is. Let me tell you something. If you don't have conviction in golden gaps after looking at this chart, I don't know what to say because I still said that Apple was lower. Even when it rallied up, even when it fell to the gap, even when it didn't do anything there in the earnings, even when the market was rallying, even when the market broke out to all-time highs it hasn't seen for over 13 years, I still said Apple was lower. And we were talking about this this morning. And I said, as you know, this is making such a beautiful, nice little basey base here. And as soon as this breaks under this little area here, it's going to rock and roll down. And it broke. As soon as it broke under 450, let's just see when it really hit. Yeah. Let me look at it in 1 minute here. And just see when it really broke. 450.50. But of course, really when it broke 450 here, that's when this happened. So 450.50 was the level. And when it broke, and when it hit here, okay? This was the top less than 3% of this bar, like 20% of this bar here is 20%, 25% of this bar. This is a 1 minute bar, by the way. 1 minute bar, huge. And when it broke under here, it was a goner. And this thing fell off, and this was a nice short in here. Nice short into the 215 reversal time. Beautiful move in Apple on the downside. So let's look at the overall picture here and just get an update. Market running green, solid green today. On low volume, and yet it doesn't care. And what is Apple doing? Apple's running red, okay? Apple is running red, confirming the original gap that happened back here in September. Confirming every gap down that's happened all the way, including the one that was right here, the beautiful one in January, that when it made this move and then lifted up a little bit here and booped up here in February and came back down, people thought this was the bottom for Apple. And I said, no. This is a beautiful, highly rated golden gap. And the chart's lower. Despite the fact it did this, I was not taking off my overall bias of the chart trend. I'm very good at reading trends and charts. This is the reason it's challenging for people to read trends is that they see something like this. Lower highs, okay, and a higher high. And this didn't do it here at all. Okay. And this didn't even do it here either. Nobody should have been buying this thing, and people bought it. But the reason that, you know, it's difficult for people to understand trends is because they're looking for these pivot lines, and they live and die by these pivot lines, number one. And number two, people are just in love with the idea of gaps filling themselves, and as you can see, that is absolutely ridiculous. This is not going to do that, all right? This chart is lower. And the rally up that it made, all this did was help the close this here. All this rally up, this nice rally all the way made up here, is going to help close this down on top of it. The rally up to help close it, and now the run down today is going to help close it. And this is just going to run out of day to keep coming in. I'm sure this will gap down tonight. Apple will gap down tonight in here. Apple could actually gap down quite a bit in here. Because really, here's the target for this move down. It's just happening late in the day. It's 320. It's just going to run out of day here to keep falling. Apple's going to gap down here tonight into tomorrow morning. And then it could get bought if it gaps down right into here and get bought in the day. But the overall chart is still lower. So once again, what drives the activity in a stock? Large money that sets the tone for what's going on. And how can you see what that is? Well, you need to read the trend. Okay, you need to see what's going on because the trend is your friend and you play the trend of stock. Now, that being said, when a gap occurs, all right, that is a qualifying gap that rates 26 points or over 20 points or something that I would short and play as in the short side. When a gap occurs, it can do what? It can change the trend of a stock or make it ready for a new leg down. Okay, and that's really what happened with this one here. This was not the first one. Apple's still on its way down. What a beautiful chart in here. So I've had conviction in my Golden Gap rating system and strategy for years, ever since I made it. And when Apple did this gap back in September, I followed it through and watched it. And I did a video a while ago on Apple, and it just has continued to reinforce and reinvigorate and remind me how great my own system is to rate gaps, to play gaps, for them to continue in the momentum that they're setting in the tone of the gap. And this Apple chart is such a powerful example of this. So many people thought this was going to recover, you know, rally with the market and do all kinds of things. And it's not doing it. It's headed down. It's going lower. It's going to continue down here now, probably gap down tonight or tomorrow morning. It may rally tomorrow on wherever the support area gaps into. And I'm just going to wait to see whenever it has earnings out again, or gaps on news, or does whatever it wants to do in the next gap. Today wasn't a gap trade on Apple. You know, none of these are gap trades it did. The day that it gapped, though, set the tone for what was happening, and that's the day that I traded. I traded on the day of the actual gap. There was no gap in here today, but I'm seeing this and I'm reading this in real time, and I'm saying this is 100% conviction here. Look at what the market did today. Look at what Apple did. Look at what Apple's doing. 100% conviction. I was aware of the fact that this day that this report came out here, ran all the way up, high up here. I think it was 431 at one point overnight. This was post-market for the Apple earnings that were out here in the second quarter. And then it came in and actually gapped neutral. It actually gapped down a little bit neutral and rallied green on the day. That was a wash to me. I looked at that and was aware of the fact that it failed on a daily sell setup. And I was aware of the fact that it gapped into the daily sell setup and failed on that day. But it also had rallied up all the way to 431 post-market on the earnings, and did not hold the gap up then in the morning. It actually fell on top of itself then and gapped down. And so it was a wash. It basically negated itself right in here. So I didn't count this as anything that was of significance. And I said, I'm going to watch, I'm going to watch, I'm going to wait. And it's acting beautifully. Beautiful, 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 beautiful chart. This is Apple. Fantastic gap. A golden gap that has been going, and it's a continuation gap. Basically, the play in this today, if you wanted to short Apple today, you could have done it when it broke 450, and it was a continuation gap play, running red. Got to know where to take these things. Got to have the entry, got to have the exit. It was a mess this morning until it started basing out here and getting situated. And then once it did, it really played out really nice into here. It was a late drop off. But if you had the direction right, if you had the conviction, if you knew what to do, if you knew where to put the stop, this more than paid. Talk about risk to reward. Even on a 15-minute chart, which is a big time frame for any stock, specifically Apple. Now you have to count in the spread, but this was about $1.15 plus a spread stop, and it ran down here $10. So this paid 8.5 to 9 to 10 to 1, depending on where you took it out. And really, it had a nice exit here. I'm looking at this. 442.15. 442. Well, the first target really, 442.78 would have been the first target. Then you would have said 442.50, 442. And really, again, should go to 440. But I was going to just run out of day in here. 432. Just not going to have enough time today. Beautiful move to the downside in Apple today, and an overall amazing chart that confirms everything that I myself personally do when I trade and teach students, which is how to trade gaps. This was a highly rated gap. Every time it's gapped, and it has worked out beautifully, and the chart is lower. The chart's lower in Apple. And the play was today when it broke 450, when it broke right on through. Held a beautiful little basey in there. And you've got to know, when you saw this trade all morning with the market running green, that there was nowhere for this to go. But where? Down, 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 to continue the momentum, the drop off, the fall in, the collapse. And that did happen late in the day, but it did it. So this is Melissa with thestockswoosh.com. If you're interested in more information or learning how to trade gaps, I'm doing a gap class this weekend, May 18th and 19th. Please feel free to email me at melissa@thestockswoosh.com. Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening.